Are you ready? Here we go.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Sesh podcast. It's me, Aaron.
And Adam here as well.
We have a very special guest joining us today. I'm actually really surprised that we got him on. He's up there with Muggleby Higgins, Colin Farrell, all the big names in Ireland, Robbie Keane. He does.
What do they all have in common, Aaron? They've all won awards, haven't they?
You have indeed, Adam.
So this would be our second award winner in 2 podcasts that has come on. Is that correct?
It is. We should rename it the award winning.
The award winning After Sesh podcast, it should be called.
You may know him from Fully Charged with Graham and A in the morning on Spain. He's an award winning radio presenter. He recently won an IMRO for the best game show on radio. I'll let you explain. It's Mr. Graham O'Toole. Graham, take it away.
I'm looking forward. Graham, welcome to the After Sesh.
It's an honour to be on the After Sesh. Aaron and Adam, thank you so much. When you initially did that introduction and you were likening me to Michael T. Higgins, I was very worried you were going to go with the height comparison as opposed to the award comparison. And then Colin Farrell and Robbie Keane started to come out as well, who too wouldn't actually be very tall human beings. I think Robbie Keane is only about 5'10". But I'm happy to be in the same realm of them if you're calling them award winners. So thank you very much, boys. It's a pleasure to be on tonight. On this rainy night, unfortunately, where I must ask about your After Sesh den there, which I can see. You're on a beautiful, comfortable green couch, which looks a lot more comfortable than my bedroom. But a tin roof, like a fiddler on the tin roof. What's going on there, boys? Is this where you actually have your After Seshes? Did you have an After Sesh there once before, and then you came up with the idea, why not stick 2 microphones in front of us and invite people in?
Well, there was one on Friday. There was one on Saturday, just gone. There was probably one the weekend. No, the weekend beforehand I was away. But most weekends, sometimes midweek, there does tend to be a few after sessions going on down here. So the shed gets used very well.
Yeah, you can blame Adam for the bad interior design. Like, I have no say in all this. So you can blame Adam for that.
Yeah.
You can see like an X on the wall there for no apparent reason.
Yeah, it just marks the spot. Don't ask me what the spot is. It just marks the spot.
No, but do you know what I like though, Adam? You have tried, because I can see on above Aaron's head there is the cushioning stuff. I don't have the exact name for it, which is used for soundproofing. Now,
yeah, it's acoustic foam.
Yes. Now you've tried. Now you can still hear the the rain outside, which is beautiful, because as I was saying before we started recording, it's kind of like, well, hopefully it won't be like Pathetic Fallacy where the rain matches the mood. Hopefully this is going to be heat wave where we want to take our tops off and maybe skinny dip in the River Liffey. That is what I'm hoping for this evening.
Yeah, mine sounds
hot here.
Believe it or not, I went tried a bit of skinny dipping there about 2 weeks ago. I ended up losing a pair of runners, so it doesn't always work out the best.
Well, even though it's raining here,
no, we need to go back to that. We need to go back to that. I want to know how you lost the runners. By the way, because I once went skinny dipping in Magaluf many years ago, and I lost all my clothes. Someone came and nicked them, so I had to walk through Magaluf in my pink boxers. I want your story, please, Adam.
You know what? We have something in common. I'll keep it short and sweet. I went in for a swim and I left my runners beside my shorts and my t-shirt. And when I got out, I seen my shorts, I seen my t-shirt. Didn't really register with me for a minute. I had a smoke, I had another drink, and I turned around and went, where the fuck are my runners, lads? Just disappeared. So, yeah, lovely walk home, bare feet after that. Dodging glass everywhere.
I'd say it's slightly different to walking through the mean streets of Magaluf, where you've got English tourists screaming at you going, "Oh, what, mate, where the fuck you going, mate? Loud the fuck stay you." And I had to give it the big one and pretending it didn't matter at all. I don't know where yours was.
No, mine was in Lanzarote, so a lot more quiet. A lot less foot traffic.
Well, it's similar enough. Similar enough. I was thinking more Clontarf or somewhere, but Lanzarote's all right.
Oh yeah, gee, I wouldn't go skinny dipping in Clontarf for obvious reasons.
I wouldn't go skinny dipping full stop.
No.
I'll just touch on you mentioned here that you can hear the rain. Apologies about that, but at least we have Graham here on the line that will bring you happiness. You've brightened up your day. He'll bring you your ray of sunshine. As he always does, Monday to Friday on Spin.
Shameless plug.
Yeah. I don't want to plug it too much because I want people to listen to
Well,
us for
keep
like
those plugs coming. I need as many listeners as I can get, boys.
Yeah, same here. Another thing in common.
Did you get much listeners on Spin? Do you know the analytics behind it?
Yeah, so they. I'll tell you exactly how they do it. It's a thing called the Jane Lores. So a lot of people actually think if you turn on the radio in the car in the morning, somehow that the radio gods will know that you're on. Because a lot of people will say to me, "Oh, I don't get to listen all the time, but sure, I have the radio on in work. I didn't hear what you were saying, but hopefully that counts as a listener." And someone will have us on in the car and go, "Oh, I listen to you every morning, and I keep it on for the 3 hours. It's great," and all that. That actually doesn't work. We're actually going to harp back to medieval times and how we study radio and the people listening to it, where a human being in the year 2021 will walk over to your door, Aaron, and they will knock on your door, and you'll open the door, and you will say, "Hello, who are you?" And they go, "I am from Ipsos MRBI, I think is the name of the company who do it." And they will say, "Aaron, who did you listen to on the radio yesterday?" And you will think, and you'll be like, "Jesus, did I listen to the radio yesterday? I mightn't have listened to the radio yesterday. Might have just been come back from Lanzarote, where Adam was skinny dipping and lost his runners." And you're like, "Oh, I might have listened to Graham and Nathan." And they'll go, "Oh, what time?" And you'll say, "Oh, I might have listened like 8 o'clock till half eight." And they go, "Okay." And that's one listener. And then they'll go to the next door and they'll ask the same person. And they'll do that to a few thousand people. And then they'll use that as a small sample size. And then they'll make that into, obviously, they'll play that against the population in Dublin. And that's how every 3 months we figure out how many listeners we have. Now, did you have any idea that's how it was done? Or how did you think it was done? Because I'd be interested in people who are outside of the bubble to figure out how they thought it was done.
If I'm being honest, I genuinely have never given it that much thought. I've never thought about looking into it, to be honest.
I have.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've always wondered this.
Yeah, what were your theories?
I thought like there was a big screen, like a big 70-inch telly on the wall. You walk in, and just numbers flicking up and down constantly, like rough figures. Like, oh, you have 700,000 listeners. Oh, you have 600. Oh, you have to lose 100,000 people. What did you say? We just thought it was just a massive screen, like a big scoreboard sort of thing, like just count down the numbers. Like if you listen for, let's say, 10 seconds, that counts as a listener, or if you listen for 30 seconds. So the way people like flick through the radio, you can't count everyone that flicks on for 2 seconds, count them as a listener. So I thought it was one of those things where you have to listen for like 30 seconds to be counted as a listener. Then
No.
if you switch back, it's at two listeners.
Yeah, true.
So you might notice why we say every time when we speak, I'll always say, "Good morning, Spin 1038. You're on Fully Charged with Graham and Nathan." And you'll hear every other radio DJ will say the name of the show and the name of the station. The main reason of that is so you listening, it gets ingrained in your head. You go, "Okay, that's who I'm listening to, that's who I'm listening to, that's who I'm listening to." So that when that person comes to knock at your door, that should be ingrained in your head of thinking, "Oh, well, I remember Graham and Nathan, Graham and Nathan. So I listened to Graham and Nathan." Even though you might have been listening to 98 FM the day before, it doesn't matter because maybe in your head you're thinking, "Well, I listened to Graham and Nathan. They had that funny thing, but that might have been 3 days ago. It wouldn't have been yesterday because they go off listened yesterday." So it's a really old school style. However, in about 10 years or so, it'll be completely different because now with app listening and downloads and all that kind of stuff, it's so much easier. So we know via the Spin app exactly how many people are listening to us at a specific time. We can see if they stop listening at 8:30, if they start listening at 8:45 for the naughty threesome. If something we feel we don't know if it's working or not, we can look at the app stats where we see where there's a dropout, where the people tune back in again. But it's a much smaller sample size because obviously traditionally people listen on in-car radios. That's where we get most of our listeners because that's the morning commute. But we're moving into a space now where more and more people are listening on their phones. Smart speakers, which we thought 5 or 6 years ago, and everyone in the radio industry, if they said they actually believed it was going to help radio, are lying. We all thought that smart speakers were going to be a huge problem for the radio industry. It's actually helped the radio industry because when's the last time you would have gone into an electrical shop and actually bought a physical radio? You probably wouldn't have. But now we have a radio in everybody's house who has a smart speaker because you can just say, "Alexa, play Spin 1038. Hey Google, play Spin 1038." Where all those people who have those smart speakers wouldn't have bought a radio. So that's huge. So going into the future, really long answer, Aaron. Very sorry about that. But into the future, it will be more specific, more targeted as more people move to digital listening. But for now, we are judged, and our jobs are judged, and our salaries are judged, and bonuses are all judged by someone knocking at your door every 3 months asking who do you listen to.
Okay, so everyone out there, if anyone knocks on your door and asks you who you listen to, say you listen to fucking Graham and Nathan every morning. Jesus Christ. Get this man as bonus. Get this man as bonus. 50 G's, baby! 50 G's!
I
That's
want my
what we need.
bonuses, please. I want my bonus, because that's what everyone says. Everyone goes, "Oh, I listen. I don't listen. I don't listen." Well, yada yada. I go, "I don't give a shit if you listen or not. But if someone knocks at your door and asks you who you listen to, you say me. You can listen
Damn
to
right.
Radio One all you want, but you tell that person you listen to Spin 103.8. Exactly. I like your
Yeah,
style,
too
Adam.
right.
You know the
Yeah,
score.
thanks very much. Have me on Spin one day.
Of course.
Yeah, try our best.
I've actually never heard of someone knocking at someone's door asking about like what they listen to on the radio.
I had someone ring me about it a while ago, but I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I thought it was a prank call.
You should have said Graham and
Oh, for
Nathan.
fuck's
I did
sake,
actually
Adam.
mention it. They only asked me
You
about
just lost him a
stations.
tenner.
They asked me about stations. I said Spain. I can't. My memory's too vague here. I can't remember who exactly I said.
I didn't. Yeah, cheers, Adam. I didn't get my bonus as well last month because of you. Cheers,
Uh-oh.
man. Thanks very much.
No bother.
You
But
all got points.
because of me, you're gonna get some bonus this month. You know yourself. It always comes around. We go full circle.
I don't know, like, I'm not just saying this because you're on Graham, but it is a really good show, and I have listened to it. Well, not so much now to work from home, but when I worked over the south side of Dublin, every morning, Monday to Friday, tune on to Spin for, what was I in traffic for, like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours in traffic. So I've listened to you since you were on the Zoo Crew, listened to your podcast, listened to you in the morning, so, like, it's really our sound lads, so, little plug there for Spin 138.
You're an OG. You're an OG, Aaron. You're an OG, and you're a Liverpool fan as well, which I appreciate. You're a Dubs fan, which I don't appreciate. But look, it's okay. We can agree on most things in life.
Yes.
One thing I'll agree with Aaron on, genuinely, you gotta get it wrong is a brilliant concept for a game. But genuinely, that was fucking fantastic. Was that yourself and Nathan that came up with that, or is that something behind the scenes?
So when we started the show, we all had this meeting, and every breakfast show has a thing, and we needed a thing, and we were throwing ideas out. What could be our thing? What could be our thing? And it's a mixture of a load of different games that have been on other radio stations and stuff, because I'll be kind of a bit of a nerd when it comes to radio. So I constantly consume radio in England and Australia and America, and just constantly listening. And it was a game. It was something. It wasn't going to get it wrong exactly, but it was something kind of similar where they were given options and they had to give the wrong one. And there's another incarnation of it as well, where you have to answer the previous question with the latest question, which affects your mind. You got to remember all that kind of stuff. So we kind of discussed those two games, and we said, how could we bring those two together and make got to get it wrong? And what we found is the really simple things work, and it's so simple. It's just like, what's 2 plus 2? And you want to say 4, and but you have to say 5, and it just messes with your mind. And it's really simple. Everyone can play. And I don't think at the time, though, we thought it would get as big as it did, where we would release a board game because of it, where it would become a virtual game show night where people would want to play online, and then we're winning an award eventually, finally winning an award. And we've got big plans for it then as well coming this Christmas as well. There's another incarnation that we're working on just before Christmas as well with the game. So you'll spot it in a month or so when it's being brought up on the show. You're like, that's what he was talking about.
Yeah, we might even do a little giveaway with it.
Oh, well, maybe. I'll come on and I'll give you the exclusive first shout out on the after sesh with the lads. I'll say, this is what we're doing. I promised them an exclusive. Yeah, damn right.
I don't like this colour. Change it. But I was listening to you this morning in the car, and the fact that he's won the award, he's made a little parody of "It's Coming Home," and the fella that actually wrote that song was actually talking about this. What's his name again? Frank
Skinner.
And
Yeah.
it's just that's a small word. Like I never would have guessed. Well, I also expect from you two to do something stupid like that and make a song about winning an award. But I never expect the actual writer of the song to actually be in touch and actually talk about. Well, it wasn't in touch. He's actually talking about to just clipped it. But it just shows
Yeah.
like how small the world is.
Yeah, and it shows. It's just like one of those mornings, and especially after the last few mornings, has really kind of got me thinking about like how lucky I am to be doing this job, because it's not really a job at all. It's me and Nathan. We met what about 11 years ago now at this stage, and we had cracked together, and we've managed somehow to maintain find people who pay us to have crack, and we have to maintain these stupid ideas, and we're lucky enough that we're being encouraged to come up with stupider and stupider ideas. And the fact that Nathan said that he wanted to push hard on it was going to win, and I genuinely didn't think it was going to win, and we said, okay, well, let's go hard on this then, and let's see what you bring to the table and then what I bring to the table. And our bosses are just kind of at a stage now where they trust us and they give us free reign. And then the fact that we are given free reign allows for these type of things to unfold, and then other radio producers hear about it and they tip off their presenters, and one happens to be the writer of Three Lions, and then we get tipped off that they were talking about us by multiple people as well. And it just kind of, you kind of have to take a step back sometimes and go, geez, this is so weird, because there's people out there who are guards, and there's people out there who work in retail, and there's people out there who work in healthcare, have kept the country going during lockdown and everything like that, and we're just here coming up with stupid ideas and trying to track down an A-list celebrity, and in the hope of mainly our kind of motto is, if we entertain ourselves, then hopefully people will be entertained on the back of that. So yeah, it's a crazy industry, and it's just love doing it. And this, the fact when things like that happened this morning, where Frank Skinner, who would be a comedian I'd look up to, ended up talking about it on Absolute Radio, was just like the icing on the cake when things like that happen. So yeah, it's class.
That's amazing. And here, if you ever need anyone for some stupid ideas, you know yourself. Come here, let's ask, right? You said you're like a bit of a radio nut. So, like, what was it that actually made you get into radio so much and like to pursue a career in it? What was the driving force for that?
To be honest, like, it was, I actually tell you now, if I was 15 or 16 in this day and age, I doubt I would have been getting into radio, because the reason I got into radio was, do you know, would you know Ray Foley, the radio
Yeah,
I
presenter?
don't.
I
Ray
know the
Foley?
name. Yeah, I know right from yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So
personally.
basically, he used he, Ray Foley's my dad. Well, he used to present a show on Today FM called The Blast, and that used to be on from 10 o'clock till 12 o'clock at night time. And these were the days. So I'm 30 now. I don't know how old you lads are. I don't know if you're, I'd say you could be a
24.
few years younger than
26.
me, but these were, I was 15 or 16. Jesus Christ. Fuck me. I am feeling my age, and all my friends go, "You really are conscious about your age." And I'm like, "Yeah, when you're the first out of everybody to turn 30, you will feel your age as well, and everybody else you talk to is in their 20s." But basically, back then, like there'd be like now the kids are constantly on Instagram, constantly on TikTok. They don't listen to the radio. I'd be lying in bed, would have an old 3210, so there'd be nothing for me to be doing. I wasn't chasing girls back in the day because I was a spotty teenager and nobody liked me. So my only friend in love was the radio. So I'd be listening to that, and they used to have such crack. And I remember they used to have a character called Tricky Dick, where he was a leprechaun. He used to do a riddle every night, and it was fucking hilarious. And he would be so rude and so sexual innuendo. And I was like, this is fucking insane. I go, these lads are just taking the piss, and they're on national radio and everyone knows who they are. And they were traveling DJing, and they were like mini celebrities. I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that so badly. And then one of the worst days of my life was when I found out they moved from nighttime to lunchtime. And I was like, no, I'm going to be in fucking school. I won't be able to listen to Ray Foley anymore. And I ended up getting one of these, and it was really weird, one of these pen radios. So it was a fucking radio inside a pen, and the earphones would go off the top of it. So I'd be writing with the pen in the back of English class, have my earphones up my sleeve, and I'd be leaning down my head against my right hand, and I'd have the earphones in, and I'd be listening to Ray Foley in the back of there. And I was like, okay, I have to do this for a living. So I just started to look into courses. Do you know what I basically did? I basically stalked his life and did exactly what he did. Went to do the same course, went to the same lecturer, did the same thing, emailed the same people that were in his radio station, and that's basically how I got the bug for radio. Like it was just basically through him. That's that's how it happened. And then iRadio really became big in the country. iRadio would be the equivalent to Spin here in Dublin. It's the youth generated radio station, and that exploded when I was about 17 or 18. And there was a guy called Fergal Darcy doing the Drive Show, who's now on Today FM. And he was DJing a gig in my local town. I went up to him. I go, I want to do what you do. And he goes, well, go to DIT, study under Pat Hannon, just do radio, become a DJ, and you'll eventually get into it. And now work in the same office as him. So I always kind of look at Fergal and go, Jesus, if you hark back to 12 years ago, me chatting to him as still a spotty teenager, girls not looking after me. I was more interested in Fergal now than shifting anybody. And I kind of count myself lucky the odd time. I'm like, geez, that's class. Where Fergal now is my colleague in a sense. And after me going up to him that day, just being this fucking loser at the time. But yeah, so it's those two people were the main kind of reasons why I got into the industry of radio.
Cool. I think another thing that brought you in was working like 4 hours and getting paid more than most people with talk show as well.
Well, no, I will say something. Everyone thinks that I'm on a shit ton of money. Well, I tell you, I'm not. I'm on a very average wage. I'll put that on the record. Everyone thinks I'm like fucking 250 grand or something like that. I like most certainly I'm not.
It's only
But
100 grand.
the hour. Yeah, I'm on about 200 grand. So that's about it.
Well, was that
the
to
4
go
hours
for
a
me?
day? No, the 4 hours a day is nice. I will say that. When I get up in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock. I have to kind of slap myself across the face and go, you will literally be home by 12 o'clock if you really want. I go, grow up, Graham. You can sleep all afternoon. This isn't a big deal. Like, come on. I could have a second job. I could work in a cafe in the afternoon and still have loads of time off. So, no, the hours are definitely a plus, 100%.
Is that one of the reasons why you switched to fully charged was the hours? Or was it like upper management told you, right, you're good lads, get on the morning show, we need the listeners?
Yeah, upper management. That was basically it. That's how it works. You don't really get a choice in radio, ever. You basically get told that you're moving to the big show, or you get told you're getting fucked out of here. So that's the one drawback with radio, where especially in Ireland, it's such a small industry. Oh, excuse me. And if you look at the likes of the UK and Australia, and they're the kind of the markers I look at, they have so many radio stations there, so that if you establish yourself as a presenter and you get sacked, you could get a job on another radio station. However, in Ireland, there's so few radio stations, and one or two companies plus RTE own all the radio stations. If you get sacked by one of them, there's a very sorry, my phone is vibrating here, so just get rid of it. There's a very slim possibility that you'll get another job straight away. You'll probably have to start building yourself back up again in another radio group, maybe start on weekends, but you will not move into a job straight away full time if you get sacked. So you either get sacked or you get promoted, and there's very little in between, and you got to kind of wait for either or to happen. So when the old contract negotiations come up, it's not like a footballer's one where you've got many options. Oh, will I move to Spain or will I move to Italy? It's like, no, will I stay in Spain or will I go wander the streets and figure out what I'm going to do with my life next?
Fair enough.
Yeah. Sounds pretty fair.
You mentioned there like how you love getting paid for like coming up with stupid ideas and all that. I have to talk about the poo app you made.
Oh my God, yeah, I wanted to talk about that.
Oh my God. Explain the thought process behind it and explain into detail.
This is like, we have Matt Damon and we have fucking winning Imrose and we've all this. This is honestly my favorite everything that we've done. Just because so basically I'll tell you where the idea spawned from was, if you listen to the show, you'll know that I have issues with my bowels. I've had for many, many years. I went to Thailand. Jesus, Adam, you nearly choked on your drink there. I'm very
I
sorry.
did, yeah. You're all right, don't worry.
Wasn't expecting that.
I wasn't expecting that.
I'm sure worse things have been said in that shed and an after sesh than me saying I've got problems with my bowels.
Yeah. Worst things have already been said on this podcast, man.
I'm sick of hearing about it.
but basically, Adam, in case you don't know, okay, in case you don't, I went to
Right.
Thailand. I ended up in hospital, and for the next 6 months, I ended up shitting myself constantly to a fact that I couldn't be far from a toilet. I got a camera shoved up my arse and then down my throat. I like to tell everybody that it was the same camera in that order, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, unfortunately. And so they put it down to irritable bowel syndrome. So I always I'm very wary when I'm out and about where the toilets are, and what the story is with the toilets. And I actually remember once time I was a spinny and I was in Finglas, and I had to go to there was a Costa Coffee, and I really need to go to the toilet, and I honestly was about to shit myself, no word of a lie. And I was there in the queue, but I'm like, I know you probably think I'm really kind of like confident and stuff in public. I'm actually not. I'm pretty shy, and I'm not just saying that. So I wouldn't just run into a Costa and just go to the toilet. I patiently queued to buy a tea because it was the cheapest thing on the menu. And when I got, and I was like, I'm honestly going to shit myself here. I need to get this tea. And people were so slow and changed their order. I finally got the tea, and I go, I actually don't want the tea when I had it in my hand. Can I just get the toilet code? And she goes, oh, there's no toilet code on there. It's fine. Just go straight through. So I ran straight in there. I pulled down my pants, and I tell him my arse hadn't even hit the toilet bowl, and it was out there. But that wasn't when the idea came to me. That's just a story about how my life was. Get out the violin there, Aaron. This is a very
I'll add the sound
sorry
effect in
story.
afterwards.
Thank you very much. So myself and Nathan, we were doing something one day, and we were both really tired. I think we were filming something all day, and it was about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is very late for me and Nathan still to be together. We usually split around half 11, 12, and we were having a burrito in Boojum. And I remember going up to go to the toilet, and I was like, and the door was locked because the one on Georgia Street, there's a code on the door. And I came down, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. And I was just so tired and so like frustrated and had to go queue and try and get the toilet. And when I came back, I was like, wouldn't it be great if we could cook the books here and we just knew exactly what the toilet codes were? And then that's where the idea spawned from. It was like, boom, something went off in our head where we're like, okay, that's a funny idea. Let's bring that onto the show, and let's just pretend we're going to make an app, and let's see what happens. And then we just said, and we came up with the name Crapp, and we were like, okay, that's even funnier. And then we had a meeting after the show. So what we do is we like to kind of come up with, when something has happened on the show, we can feel it. And we were like, okay, what can we do with this? And then we were like, let's see how far we can go, and can we actually get this app made? Now, Nathan and I both have no idea when it comes to technology or building apps or graphic design or anything like that. We're really shit. And we said, how far can we go? Can we get the listener all involved in this? Because that's when we feel like the show is at its best, when everybody feels like they're part of the show. We don't want it to be fully charged with Graham and Nathan. We want everybody to feel like they have a voice on the show. If they want to say something, they can forward and say it on the show, no matter how weird or stupid it is. So when we had Crapp, and we said, could someone build this app? And someone came forward and goes, I can build the app, but I kind of can't, but my friend can. And we're like, well, does he get the show? And he's like, no, I'll just tell him to do it. And they're like, okay, you're in. And then it's like, can we get somebody to design us the picture? And someone else heard the excitement of us getting the app, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So it kept on rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling to where we actually had this app which was working and completely built by the audience. And then we're like, we need to fill up the app. Then I remember I had to go to Italy, and I was like, oh shit, I'm missing out on all this. We had such momentum here. And then Nathan goes, right, well, you're away. I'm going to organize a party, a launch party. So I knew nothing about the launch party. Came back, there was a launch party um, hosted by a fully charged listener in Malide Cricket Club. We had entertainment from Stolen City, the band, from Rodrigo the Magician. And we had security as well from Celtic Security. We had people delivering Tato crisps, all free of charge. Like, there was nothing, like, we didn't pay a penny for anything. This was all free of charge. We had everybody who was there, who was involved in the building of the app, there on the night. We had listeners as well. The tickets sold out within like 2 minutes. And it's one of those moments where we were like, oh, fuck, okay, this is really good. People get what we're trying to do. We're trying to create something that's a little bit different on Irish radio. We're trying to have this real interaction. We do things, we make events, but they're really stupid and nobody else would think about it. And I was remember that night we were there and everybody just got it. Everybody got the joke, but it wasn't just a joke. We actually released it and actually got number one. And then we re-released it again for when there was toilet shortages, and we crashed the app because so many people re-downloaded it. And everyone, like, when you feel that everybody is in on the joke, when people could turn on the radio and go, "Oh, these two lads are talking absolute fucking shite." Like, and you could say that when you actually take a step back and go, "We are literally talking about shit, taking a shit in a toilet, and general shit." But when you know that people go, "Okay, I've got Graham and Nathan. They've been on the radio for 3 or 4 years now. I get this is their humor. I get they're not taking themselves too seriously, and I get all they're trying to do is have fun on the radio and make our journey that little bit shorter to school or to work or on the bus." And you realize that people are in, like, it's such a good feeling. And that's why that was definitely up there with the best thing we've done, because it incorporated everything that we wanted in the show. Yes, Matt Damon was incredible, and the fact that we had Matt Damon on the show, but that was just like an isolated incident where he just heard us talk about him and he phoned in, and it was like the biggest story in the world that day, which was class. But this was a journey, and this was everyone involved, and this was exactly the route we wanted for the show. And it kind of proved to our bosses as well at the time that you can trust us to just let us do the stupid shit, and it'll be entertaining and people have buy-in. So I can't remember what your actual question was there, Aaron, but I hope that somehow answered it.
It didn't, but we'll go with it. It did. Like, some of this shit you do, like, he's made an app about fucking toilets, where to take a dump. He's went to a listener's gaff and buried a time capsule.
Yes, yeah. We did on
What?
Valentine's Day 2019, just before the pandemic. And we're going
What,
back,
what
and I hope to
was?
see Go on, go on, sorry.
No, sorry, go on ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
No,
you.
go, Adam. Go.
What was in
Go
the
for it.
time capsule?
Again, we wanted listeners to put things in the time capsule. It's all
Oh, lovely.
everything we do. We want listeners to do it. So we put in a USB stick from. We got people to send in WhatsApp voice messages, for messages to their future self. So it would be, they would say something about, they wanted to give themselves a message in 10 years' time. We put it all in USB stick, we put it in there, so that the hope that we said in 10 years' time, we're going to dig this up. You have to figure out where we are on the radio at that stage, whatever, if we're still on Spin or if we're on 2FM or Today FM or FM 104, you got to follow us and you got to be listening to us, because we're going to play out your message. We had, else do we have? We had like, oh, the election was on around then. It was just before the election. So we put in election posters. We put in food. We put in canned food. Don't know why, just because it felt like the right thing to do. Takeaway. We put in takeaway menus to see how the prices would differ in 10 years. To, I think it was San Marino's. How much would the chicken fillet burger be in 10 years' time? Yeah, and then we had a listener offered up her garden for us to dig a hole in her garden to plant it, and said that we're going to come back in 10 years to your house and dig it up again and take it. And she was like, "Yeah, that's perfect." And we were like, we also don't want to do any of the hard work. So we said, "Is there any builders out there?" And we had John the builder. I think his name was John. And he just came
It
over
was.
to Kathy's house. John, and then just started digging a hole for us. It was so stupid. But what we want to do is, again, when someone knocks on your door, you want to be thinking, "Jesus, Graham, did I listen to a show where they were digging someone's garden up and putting a toolbox in there, which they said was a time capsule?" So that's our thing. We're always trying to do different things so that we stand out from the dial. So when anyone else is just kind of talking, now you have to do your fair amount of talking as well, but we like to do something big every quarter. So every 3 months we try and say, "Okay, we're going to do this," or we have to come up with an idea. But the problem with that is, our best ideas have been the ones that we haven't planned. So you'll have management, and I'm sure in the jobs that you work in, you're like, "Okay, what's the plan for the next 4 months, and what's the plan here, and what's your targets and all that kind of stuff." But for us, we're like, we can't come up with ideas like that. It has to be like we're in Boojum and the idea sparks, or the Patrick Bergen thing where we brought back an actor who everyone forgot about, and we did a private screening with this actor who nobody really knew, but they kind of knew of, and we wanted to bring back this 1990s film and watch it with him, and we wanted to track him down. That just happened because Nathan said, "I watched this movie and I thought it was shit." And I go, "I should have given it a chance." Someone messaged going, "No, you have to watch it. It's really good." And someone goes, "Oh, sure, he lives in, or what? He lives in Kimmage or somewhere." And we were like, "Oh, well, geez, let's get him on the show and see." Because I think it was Sandra Bullock or Julia Roberts. It's Sleeping with the Enemy. And then we said, this would be amazing. Let's get limos. Let's dress up formal. Let's book out a cinema and let's invite him. And if he comes, this will be the greatest night of our life. And then we had listeners come. But that was just from Nathan. I want to talk about this movie I didn't watch last night and see if anyone has seen it. And then that's one of our biggest ideas of like 2018 or something like that. So that's all. Just trying to do stupid stuff as long as we're allowed to, because we know that someday it'll all end. Either we won't be in a job anymore or we'll be on a show which won't allow us to do it. So try and cram in as much stupid shit as we can, and we'll see where it gets us.
Yeah, hopefully that day is a long time away, you know what I mean? Like, love hearing all that. I want the stupid shit to continue, man. Non-stop.
Yes.
And remember, if you're listening,
we did have someone go, yeah.
Sorry, remember, if anyone knocks on your door and asks you who you listen to, you're listening to who?
Adrian and Jeremy.
Jim and Nobby.
Jim and Nobby, yeah, that's the one. Strawberry alarm clock boys, yeah.
The strawberries.
He gets paid to do this show. We're in the wrong job, man.
No, I'd love to be getting paid to go on the radio. It's actually one thing that when I was younger, I always actually really wanted to look into doing, but I never knew what the avenue was, and I was way too lazy to look into it myself.
And nothing has changed. It's a lazy fuck.
Yeah, nothing has changed.
Can I just say, what you're doing right now is so much better, because if you look about even 5 years ago, if you wanted to record something, how would you record it? There was no way possible that you could record anything yourself unless it was really bad quality. You had no access to microphones. USB microphones weren't a thing. The software wasn't good enough. It wasn't user friendly to people who were beginning. I remember I joined DIT and they only had a radio station once a week. 1 week per semester. So I was like, we had to use a radio studio to record any podcast at all. Well, now, this day and age, if you want to get onto radio, you literally buy a microphone. You can get them for €30 on Amazon. Plug it into your laptop, and Bob's your uncle. You're recording on Zoom. Even if you can just record on your headphones, if you can't even afford a thing. And if you're good enough and you practice enough, you can send that into a radio station. Whereas before, you had to get into a radio station to send to a radio station. It was kind of like when you get those scissors, which you can't open because you got no scissors to open them with. Well, now it's like anybody can record anything. And like if this podcast takes off, you don't even need radio. You can put ads in front of this podcast. So I think
4 hours in the morning that should be handy.
Adam, but at this day and age, Adam, you can do anything. If you want to be on radio, you're already you're doing the first step. Keep on doing this and send it around, and perfect. 5 years ago, you couldn't do that. 3 years ago, you couldn't do that.
Yeah, true. I mean, say whatever the fuck we want for this podcast.
Exactly. No sponsors yet. Or are there? Who knows? By the time we release that, maybe we might get one.
This room's been heated, boy. Do you prefer to do your podcast over being on the show because you're not limited to what you can say? Because I think I heard somewhere that radio stations have to follow like a certain, not script, but you have to kind of layout sort of thing. Like you have to say this at this time, or you have to introduce yourself a certain way. Like, is there a limit on what you can say? I know you can't say fuck and all that, of course, and all, but
yeah,
what other limit is there or restrictions in radio?
Well, look, we set up the Little Big Podcast is our sister kind of stream where we can talk nonsense for 40 minutes. And that was originally set up when we first got breakfast. So when we first got breakfast, they were kind of worried about us on breakfast because we were a bit raw and we were very loose on evening show on the Zoo Crew. And we kind of got away with murder, basically, to be honest, because it was nighttime radio. And we moved to breakfast. I think they were a little bit worried about us, and fair enough as well. Like we're now we're moving from talking to like teenagers that don't give a shit to and adults to mums and dads driving their 6 and 7 year olds to school, like completely different audience. So they kind of stripped us all back, less of the personal stories, less of talking about me going to the toilet, just kind of what's happening in the world. Let's talk about that and keep the music going. And we got a little bit frustrated at the beginning of us, Nathan and I, and we were like, no, this isn't what we're good at. We're good at talking about what happened in our life. We're good at Nathan talking about what happened on his holidays or at the wedding, or a story with me, my girlfriend Claire, or something like that, or a little argument we had and settle it. And they're like, no, we don't want you to do that.
Oh, yeah,
so we got frustrated, and that's why. Oh, the car, yeah. And then we got we got frustrated. So that's why we set up the podcast, because that way we could do whatever we wanted. We could talk about our lives, and we needed to keep actually training that muscle in our brains where we were able to talk about those stories and we were able to have that crack back and forth with each other and keep that chemistry going, because we felt like we were losing it a little bit at the start. Now we're at a stage where basically the breakfast show and the radio show, as I was saying earlier on here, we're trusted a lot more and we're kind of allowed to do what we feel like because we've kind of earned that trust. So we felt like we got to a stage with a Little Big Podcast where we were kind of just repeating some of the stuff we were saying on the show, but just kind of making it longer and kind of exploring it a little bit more. And that's why, I don't know if you've listened to the latest episode, but it's our last for a while, as we're going to start a new project in about a month's time, which we're doing a lot of planning in the background, which is a little bit different. But going back to your original question, there is a lot of restrictions on radio because you have commercial partners. So a company will pay to be on your show for a week, and they will pay to have their messaging on the show. And sometimes you'll have to do, on average, it's one per show. Sometimes you'll have two. So that means you won't have a lot of creative license within the show to do the things you want to do, because you got to get this client messaging off. But at the end of the day, it is commercial radio. They're the people who pay our wages. So we have to do what we have to do. Spin is also a heavy music rotation station. So they want us to get about 10 to 12 songs an hour. Other radio stations are a lot lower, meaning they can talk more. So it can be a little bit restrictive, but also it's kind of enjoyable as well to try and be as creative in a short space time as possible. So usually our links are about 4 minutes long, and then we move on. We got to keep it quick, we got to keep it snappy, get our jokes in, and also get the messaging in. So that's kind of enjoyable as well. But definitely they're two different beasts. It's very hard for somebody who's great at podcast to go onto radio, and it's very hard for someone who's great on radio to go onto podcast. They're two very different skills, and you mightn't think that they are, because it's just essentially talking to a microphone, but it's a different mindset. So my mindset is completely different. Right here now, I'm back. I'm relaxed. We're just having a conversation. You two and me. You ask me a question, I'll ask it. We'll have a bit of crack. But on radio, I would be thinking, okay, what's the time? What's coming up? What competition is on the way next as well? Do I have to? Do I have a caller recorded here that I have to play, or will I save that for the next one? So that's all going. It's like that Zach Galifianakis meme where you have all the kind of calculations going on in your head. And you're like, what is going on? Where are we going to go with that? So radio is a completely different skill to podcasting, but then podcasting is all about being conversational. It's all about picking out little bits that the other person are talking about as well. So yeah, they are two completely different skills. And if you're good at both, then you can cash in. We're trying our very best to improve on both of them at the minute. That's our plan for 2022, to become better at both.
Yeah, listen to the latest episode. I have a question before you want to talk about that. It's one of the questions I wanted to ask Radio Dinner for a long time. Is there a countdown before a song plays?
Yes, there is. There is a countdown.
I knew it.
There
It's
is.
a goal of mine
So
to ask that
so
question.
we'll be yeah, so every song will have a marker. So say for instance, what's the big song now? We'll say
Ed
BTS
Sheeran?
Coldplay My Universe. Ed Sheeran Shivers is probably the biggest song right now. So I'll see Ed Sheeran Shivers on top of it, and it will say 8.0. So that means when I press the green button, I'll hear the instrumental in my head, and then I've got 8 seconds to talk until Ed Sheeran starts singing. But I'll have a little bar that goes and fills up yellow. So I'll follow the bar, and it'll also give me a countdown timer as well. So when that goes 3, 2, 1, and usually on one I'll say spin 1038, and then that'll hit the vocal. Sometimes I mess that up, and it's called crashing the vocal, and I get very angry at myself because I'm like, God damn it! You've one job, Graham. You one fucking job. Don't crash the vocals.
Is there any? I know you've met the likes of Ed Sheeran and Storms and all. Who's your favourite celebrity that you've met?
Stormzy, I'd say, just because the whole experience was really cool. We were flown to London after the show. We got into a taxi, flown to London. Taxi outside Heathrow was waiting for us. Drove us to the recording studio where Stormzy recorded "Heavy Is the Heart." Will I Am was walking around. Um, as we were waiting, it was all the European media were there on that day, so you could see all the other kind of radio stations were there, and you were kind of like observing them and how they acted, and obviously a lot cooler than us. So they had like the Germans were over and the French, and I think the Swedish were there as well, and the Spanish, and they were also bloody cool. And we were these pasty white Irish people who were really nervous going in to interview Stormzy. And we got there about 1. I remember we were waiting till about 5 because there's just so many people there to do it, and we were the second last ones in, and they were in there. His people were eating sushi inside the recording studio. He was there in his slippers. He was sending a WhatsApp voice note to his lads' WhatsApp group. But like, I had this image of Stormzy in my head with the Union Jack stab proof vest in Glastonbury, being this huge alpha male and being this voice of a generation and voice for the black generation in the UK. And then you just see him I think he was 26 at the time. And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm 2 years older than this man. And he's there there's again with the age, with something in my head. He's there sending WhatsApp voice notes like one of us would send a WhatsApp voice note, like taking the piss out of one of his mates. And then he's like, "What's up, bro?" And he's like giving us fist pumps and all this stuff. And then he just got the interview as well. Like, you can, with the kind of way we approach interviews, sometimes people could not get it, if that makes sense. Look, we've been lucky so far, but we've heard some people aren't great interviewees, but he just got it. We were talking, Nathan was doing his obscure references to Ben Mitchell in EastEnders. Stormzy went off that tangent asking, where is Ben Mitchell right now? Isn't it so weird that so many different actors started playing Ben Mitchell? And it was class, because the best interviews we have is when we don't talk about the music, we talk about random shit, and we like to make those interviews as different to what they expect as possible. And then we were talking about round beds and long beds. Nathan asked Stormzy how long his bed was because they're both tall men, and I suggested the round bed he should get, and then he berated me for saying that. So it was just an unbelievable experience, and he was so class. And at the time, he was just so big. Like, obviously he's big now, but at the time he was everywhere. And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, this is a moment I will never ever forget. So I'd say Stormzy, but I gotta say Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran is so nice. And he was our first big interview ever. We interviewed him while we were on the Zoo Crew, and it was our first massive interview. And I remember I was shitting it. I actually still shit myself for most interviews, but Stormzy most memorable, and I would say Ed Sheeran up there as well. But to be like, we've actually been very lucky. Sigrid is another person who stands out. I'm a huge fan of hers. She came into studio. She was up for crack. We played Fill in the Grid with Sigrid, and she was loving it as
Fill
well.
in secret.
And Sigrid, and then obviously Matt Damon was bang on as well, and he was very given of his time. So yeah,
Matt
we've been
Damon
very
sound.
lucky with.
He seemed pretty sound when he was on there. I was listening in on that. Like, he seemed pretty cool. Like, did he come into the studio, or was it just he phoned in?
No, so that was the height of lockdown. That was March 2020. So he was in his house in Dalkey, living in squalor, I presume, in Dalkey.
Oh,
And
I can only imagine so.
it was tough. It was a tough time for him living over here. Now he phoned in
Your next door
and
neighbour,
it
is it,
was
Doc?
class. Huh?
Your next door neighbour up in Dalkey, is it? All your millions.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm moving in beside Bono. He's actually on the edge. They're putting me up. And Enya, I'm in Enya's castle.
Oh, there you go. As long as you don't live near Sinead O'Connor, you're all right.
She sold her house in Bray for like $1
I
million, I
know.
think, like that.
I was only
I'm seeing
outside of it. Did you see it? I think it was on. I think it might have been on Daft. Did you see the inside of it?
Yeah,
A bit
yeah.
big,
It's
man.
she really bright,
Yeah,
and like
very
90s.
colourful, I'll say.
Yeah.
So-
It was cool.
I would ask, like, who's the person you'd love to meet the most, but I think I already know the answer. So do you want to just put me on misery and tell me who you'd love to interview?
Oh, so you think? Oh, all right. Okay, I actually had someone else in mind. I think I think you're thinking. I think you're thinking Pitbull.
Yeah.
Oh, Pitbull,
Yeah.
Mr. Triple
Yeah.
Fat.
Mr. Worldwide.
Woo! You know your man.
Dale. So he would be, but I would also be really afraid that he would let me down. That he would be surrounded by entourage, and I wouldn't get to have a good time with them. So that'd be one person I would like to meet. See, this is the thing. This is the thing I have to weigh up. I would get big anxiety meeting someone who I really wanted to meet, because I'd be nervous that I'd feck it up, and I'd also be nervous that they'd let me down. So I'd actually, for the full week leading up to me meeting this person, I would have really bad anxiety thinking about it. And then I'd be like, do you know what? You weren't that bad. And I was like, what was I worrying about? The big one would be Jurgen Klopp. And I think we can both agree with that. Aaron, I don't know, Adam, where your allegiances lie, but Jurgen Klopp would obviously be the big one. I don't know if I'd like to do a sit-down interview because I feel like that would be pressure. I'd like to maybe just go, Jurgen, you're the man. You've made my life so happy, and you're a man of real good moral standing as well. So you're just a fucking good human being at the bottom of it all. So I think I would love to do that. That would be the kind of the main one for me.
Who knows, if we can get a bit of a groundswell of support, get the online support going, get a hashtag going or something, we might get him on the show in the morning. Who knows?
Jurgen O'Till.
Jurgen.
Hashtag Jurgen O'Till.
Hashtag Jurgen O'Till. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm right. Let's make it happen, boys. The power of the podcast. Who knows where it could go?
Yeah, exactly.
I sent it to his wife later.
Yeah, why not?
But I was gonna say, you mentioned there like how you'd be nervous talking like to celebrities and all that. I was nervous when we were playing you in the match in Gaelic. So I was thinking like I've always like you're a sound bloke, and I just thought like I'd love to have a crack with you, have a laugh, and I was nervous like is that's just a front or will I actually get to talk to him. I'd love to say hello to him and just tell him that I'm a fan, I love listening to him. And I think that's why I played shite that game.
Yeah, you probably want. Let's just go a few goals, didn't it?
No, he didn't score any goals. He didn't score any points at all.
Oh, you're ratting them out.
So-
You're ratting them out.
No, hold on. No. Hold on a second here now. I remember this game. I'm pretty sure I scored 2 points. I'm pretty sure I did because I'll tell you why. I'm telling you now because I'm pretty sure my mate Sam was there and he saw me, or Andrew was there and he saw me score 2 points, and I got taken off with about 10 minutes to go, and I walked over to you while you were in goal, and I said hello to you, and then I went to went to the sideline with Andrew. I'm pretty sure I scored 2 points. I could be wrong.
Zilch.
Can you actually remember? And I'm not even joking when I ask. I actually can't remember, so I can't remember. It could be either end. But who actually won that game between Ranelagh and Raheny?
You.
I don't remember.
We were
Was it by
winning
much?
half time, I think, by a point. And then second half, I
Right.
think he was fell apart. I think he was won by like 5 or 6. I think.
It's not, well, it wouldn't be like us to win that many. So that was a genuine question, to be honest.
The only reason why I remember that was because I had a joke lined up trying to be funny. I was like, "Oh, I can't perform around 8 beside you," like trying to be funny. Had it all lined up. Had all the conversation listed out word by word what I'm going to say, and then yeah, that's how I remember. But that's a sad life I have. Just sit at home.
I don't remember you being that nervous. I thought you dealt with yourself all right.
Yeah, I had a vodka before the match, so kind of nervous.
That's why we won. Unreal.
Yeah. But you mentioned the latest podcast. You're not playing anymore. Injury, is it?
Yeah, so I pulled my hamstring 3 times this summer, so I'm giving it a long overdue rest. I pulled my quad this time last year, and I did a lot of work on it over the winter, and I think that I overworked the quad, and I didn't work my hamstring, and then I pulled my hamstring, and I went back too early. I pulled my hamstring, and again I went back too early, and I pulled it again. So I said to the manager, look, I'm just going to take the rest of the year off, see where my head is at in January, and we'll go from there. But yeah, well, we'll see what happens. It's kind of with the going to, like, I go to bed really early, lads. I go fucking around 8:30, 9:15, usually around to bed. And when you train late that night and you wake up in the morning and you're napping during the day, I go completely out of sync. And I am sounding like I'm complaining here, but I kind of feel like my schedule is a lot better when I don't have the training. So it's annoying because I really love playing, but then also my schedule goes all over the shop as well. So it's that kind of decision I have to come. And I'm talking literally like I'm playing senior football, championship football for Dublin when I'm playing Division 8. But you know all about it, Aaron. It's big deal when you're in it. When you're in it, it's a big deal, no matter how low the division is.
Talking to town. But I'll wrap it up, Graham. You've been an absolute amazing guest. We love to have you on. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I'm actually really surprised you came on. The fact that you came on, I might actually give Woody Higgins a text.
Yeah, you may as well.
Does Graham come on like he would?
Small men love the after sesh. You got to remember that.
That's it. And large ones too.
Yeah.
Well, come here. Send Matt Damon our way if he sends you a little text anytime soon, or maybe give us a number so we can WhatsApp the fella. You know yourself. And if you need anyone to
I'll
fill in,
get on to the
if
agent.
Nathan has a sick day or anything, you know what to call.
The boys, and I want you to do it from the shed with the rain as well. And if it's not raining out, I want somebody up with the watering can, so I can get a nice ambiance as well from the from it. And I also appreciate the green couch that you have, which is very similar to the green couch I do lying in my house. And I hope it's not as stained as the one that I do have downstairs.
We won't comment on that.
No comment.
No
Before we
comment. What
go,
happens in the after sesh shed stays in the after sesh shed.
Exactly.
that's it. Before we go, don't forget to give Graham a follow. I'll leave his links down below. That's your Instagram handle is probably one of the best out there.
What is it?
Instagram.
Thank you.
Instagram too.
Instagram hotel. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
So
Thanks
I'll
for
leave all the
following
links.
me, Adam.
Yeah. Oh bollocks! Wrap yourself out. Graham, it's been an absolute
Cheers, lads.
pleasure.
Really appreciate.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you so much for coming on to the show, and we'll have it on any time if you'll come back on.
I highly do it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. If we have any more apps, any more toilet apps that are launching, you'll be the first to know, and I'll be launching it on the After Sesh podcast with Aaron.
You heard it here
Aaron,
first.
I can't remember which way it is. Lads, thanks very much. Appreciate me you asking me. It was an honor to come on and talk about myself, which all radio presenters actually love doing deep down. Cheers, lads. Best of luck with the podcast.
Thanks so much, Graham. Have a great night.
Take it easy, people.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Smell that, boys.